everyone, this is Sensei Victoria Whitfield, your journey partner in business, welcoming you back to episode 56 of the Journeypreneur Podcast. This is your source for channeled holistic stress management techniques, guidance, inspiration, and motivation to stay on your path to rapid financial ascension and massive impact as a conscious entrepreneur. The title of this podcast episode is Your Barefoot Bosslife. So, I have to share this with you. I was just jumping into the car now. Gonna run this wonderful stack of cash over to my landlord because I love paying him in cash for the rent. And it just occurred to me that all of the clients that I've seen this week, whether they were in my VIP group of entrepreneurs called the Visionary Shaman Circle, or if they were coming in person, or on the phone with me, I was like, wait a minute, they all share a common lifestyle choice, and I do this as well. And this is something that, I've been doing it so much that I kind of take it for granted. But one of my clients in our VIP group, he's newer to the circle, and so this practice that we all have just been taking for granted, it's really changing his life. I swear to God, I gotta find a screen cap of the first call that he came on, what he looked like, versus the calls that he's on Zoom afterward, because he's glowing, he's much more confident and expressive. He also came to the Oceanside retreat, so of course that's going to have an effect. But again, we were also doing this as a practice at the deep dive retreat. I do it now. I don't even think about it. It's just become part of my lifestyle. And interestingly, all of my clients do this as well. And we were taking it for granted, but today on the VIP call on Zoom, we celebrated all together. And I had no idea, just totally taking it for granted up until now. This one practice that we all do to help us focus and stay in a sustainable state of relaxed focus. And I'm sure as you're listening in right now, you're like, well, okay, well, tell me already, Victoria. What is it? And I hope the title of this episode gave you a really obvious hint. It's going barefoot while at work, right? Going barefoot. Here's the thing. I think about my latest client who's just starting to adopt this as a practice. He owns a construction company, everybody. So he's usually in boots. Boots everywhere, boots and socks up to the nines. But at the same time, he's not always out on the job site. And he's not always out in front of his clients. But whenever we gather together for strategic masterminding, meditations, visioning, doing innovation work, really thinking creatively at a deep level, we take our shoes off. And what this does is it really helps the body open up to more of that thinking potential. It helps activate the rest of your central nervous system rather than keeping your feet cooped up in shoes, right, and wrapped in man-made materials like the plastic and the rubber and the pleather and the foam and God knows what they put in shoes now. You think entirely differently when you're barefoot versus when you have shoes on. So I'm talking about the type of thinking and the type of masterminding that involves you stepping outside of your comfort zone, pushing the edge of your potential and thinking outside of the box. It is much easier to think outside of the box in our tribe, at least we've seen over the years, and I know how I work, This always, shoes are off. Shoes are off. You take them off at the door if you come in person to see me at the dojo, or when we're gathering at the retreats, right? You leave your shoes in your room, right? Don't bring them into the space that we're working in unless we're going somewhere. But even still, I have clients who, I'm thinking of my client from Monday who came in for her private VIP session. She drove down with no shoes on because she was in it, in that creative vortex the whole drive to come see me. She drove, I think, at least an hour to come. And she was walking across the grass, and we meet each other barefoot out in the front lawn. And this is something that I've just gotten so used to. And I remember all the times that I have spoken for corporations such as AT&T, where I'm sharing holistic stress management techniques. One of the simple ones is take off your shoes while you're at your desk. Who are you trying to impress by keeping your shoes on while you're working at the desk? Like, what is the point? What is the point? I mean, unless, you're working at a desk where it's particularly dirty on the floor and you don't want to get your feet, dirty sitting there. But even still, it's important for you to let yourself be at ease. It's okay to be comfortable, because the more comfortable and relaxed you feel, the more that you're able to be productive, the better circulation your body has, right? It's something really simple, but I think back on different places that I've spoken corporately, and believe it or not, out of all of the different, tips and tricks that I give in my speeches to the employees in the management that I'm sharing with during these presentations, the one thing that they actually do and take the time to write me back, like an email about, is taking their shoes off at the desk. This is so simple. Now, if you're listening and you're thinking, Victoria, I'm, what the heck? Like, this, really take my shoes off? How is it? I double dare you. Figure it out how you can, even if it's, okay, you're sitting down to do your computer work portion of the day, right? Or you're going for a walk outside, take your shoes off to take that walk if you can, right? If you're walking on grass or natural materials. Now, if you're walking on concrete, right, or asphalt, I wouldn't recommend that. But if you are nearby, wonderful lawn, barring that you aren't allergic, right, to certain types of grasses or the chemicals that they put into it, take your shoes off. There's a whole branch of study called earthing, which states that the more that you can make physical, meaning skin to nature contact, the more that you can make physical contact with natural substances such as wood or grass, right? The more your body is able to discharge and release inflammation. So I'm not going to break down earthing in this podcast episode. You could go ahead and drop that in a Google research and learn all about the power of negatively charged ions, which are called anions, and how more anions are in your presence and in your space, the more your body is healthier, the better circulation you have, the less disease you experience, right? And the more positively charged ions, which are called cations, the more that your environment and your body are cationic, the more dis-ease, stress, inflammation, tension, confusion, frustration, and illness that you'll have. So this is so simple, removing your shoes when you're not in transit. I spend most of my days with my shoes off. Whenever I'm at work, I take my shoes off. And because I have fabulous shoes, just as a side note, I tend to leave them on display. Yeah, right. Rather than sticking my feet in it, it's not that my shoes are uncomfortable. It's just I'm a human being, right? And I have feet that were not made for shoes. They're not made for that. And you're the same. So with love, I just wanted to drop a quick podcast episode here about living a more barefoot boss lifestyle. All of the bosses that I've been running with this week, I think of my client from Monday, how she has a team that they are going through a massive transition. You know, she drove all the way up, no shoes on, walked with me, no shoes on, whole session, hours and hours of mastermind strategy together privately, no shoes the whole time. Right, or my other client, where she spends most of her time barefoot. She has to get off of her feet because she actually has muscular dystrophy, so she has to take extra care of her body. But again, no shoes. And then this morning, our whole VIP group of bosses from all over the country here in the United States, and another one of our bosses up in Canada, we're all showing our feet on camera. I'm like, yeah, check it out. I'm not wearing shoes either. Meanwhile, we're talking about issues coming up in the team, spending new levels of investments, right, at, the $50,000 and $100,000 level, or talking about different dynamics coming up with, the big decisions that we're making. And we're able to do it comfortably because we don't have shoes on. That, and we're supported by an amazing high vibe tribe. And if that speaks to you, by all means, head on over to naturalintuition.com, hit that contact button, get on my calendar, and let's talk about elevating your quality of life, right? As you are on this journey. We are all on this journey together, and there are certain things that some of us have adopted that make this journey a little bit easier to bear, a little bit faster, right? A little bit simpler and cleaner of an experience, a little bit healthier. Would love to share more of those tips and tricks with you. So I'm glad I remembered that and got to share that little bit with you. And by the way, feel free to leave a 5-star review and drop in that comment section. Tell me, did you take your shoes off? What was it like working as a barefoot boss today? I would love to get to see your story there. And thanks so much for those likes, subscribes, and shares. I feel the love, and I'm really honored to get to serve more people through this podcast. So please remember to enjoy the journey. Do not lose your glow as you grow in life and business. And I'll see you on the next podcast episode. Bye for now. Mwah!